So for my dynamic identity, I'm creating an interactive landscape that reflects the emotion of the visitors of the Dutch Design Week.
I'm trying to make an abstract dashboard that is actually visual, attractive and also shows the different emotions that's inside of this building.
So visitors can stand in front of a screen or a projection and based on the emotion that they have at the moment, that will be reflected on the displays.
There's a little bit stress, but I think eventually I'll be fine. Yeah.
I think what the project needs to convey mostly is that we're experimenting. So we're not going to give any solutions, or we're not looking saying like this is what it should be, but we're kind of experimenting, looking at ways to make a building interactive, and in that way considering like, is this a good thing, is this a bad thing, is there privacy issues, does this add something? So we're really just trying a lot of different things and showing those experiments.
I didn't really have a starting point. I just went into the project with no expectations. The project sounded really cool to work on.
My starting point was the given exercise, what we wanted to create, like a big overarching concept. It's about the emotions as well of the people inside the building as the emotions of the building itself.
For me it would be a great challenge to explore more different aspects of the ICT field, which I'm not very comfortable in yet.
I think the students are doing really well. It's a difficult challenge for them because it's also an abstract and maybe new context that they are working in, and I think they worked really hard on the concept and thinking about what could be a dynamic identity.
Dynamic identity is a really interesting project. It shows how a building can communicate with the people inside the building.
A dynamic identity for me is identity that's different for everyone.
The building having its own emotions, its own identity and its own way of looking at its visitors. Or students or workers in this case.
Regardless of the context, for instance, when I'm at school, I have a professional attitude. When I'm drinking with mates, I don't have a professional attitude at all.
So that creates a whole other dimension of the interaction that people have with the building.
So the identity of people or buildings, in this case, that we're doing the extra for can change based on the needs.
I think dynamic identities normally are considered in the graphic design area. To be a logo and colors and stuff like that. And I think in this project we're looking at it way broader. So we're looking at a building and how interactivity can also extend that kind of thing.
My view on dynamic identity is that on one hand it's an identity, which means that you can give meaning to something, that it can be visually represented, but also as a more, let's say, conceptual thing. And it's dynamic, and by dynamic we mean that it can be responsive to elements, that it can change, that it can act and react on what it sees or even what it feels.
What I especially learned of the process from this project is, well, normally when we have a project we have a whole semester to work on it, and now the time limit for the project to end is way smaller.
So one thing I learned with this project so far is the interaction and the emotion that people have with a building and a little bit of psychology that goes behind it, and how we can process this data to visualize something that it's really interactive with its visitors.
I think the students have really spent a lot of time on creating concepts that really interact with people, how they're coming, but it stays very much on an abstract level. So it doesn't give too much away, so it also allows the audience to try figure it out, so it becomes a bit of a puzzle, which I think is a good way of working.
Before this I was doing demand-based courses, and now I'm at open learning. You have the freedom to work on whatever you want, basically.
The Innovation Lab is an initiative that hopefully brings companies and students together, and also with research departments like the Interaction Design department. I think the interesting part for companies and other initiatives is that they meet students on a different level. They meet them in a school environment. They can work really close with students. It's, I think, a little bit different, for example, to internships.
It's really nice working with students because it feels like it's a collaboration in a way. And there are also students that know so much more than what we do when it comes to interaction design.
For us, I think the good thing is that we get a lot of input. So we also are working on concepts for the same question, basically. So we're also thinking of ways to make the dynamic space of Innovation Lab into an interactive project, and kind of imagining how buildings could be different in the future when they're more interactive and how we can get connections with them. But the powerful thing, I think, with working together with all these different perspectives is that the outcome is really diverse, and then the challenge is to make it so that it kind of still fits together. But yeah, the diversity is really the powerful thing, I think.